teachers who are putting on a special event for families from Lumen Christi, theology teacher and professor of Christian spirituality at SAU, Dr. Robert Moore-Jumonville, and English professor at SAU, Dr. Kimberly Moore-Jumonville. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us on the show.
And because you share the same last names, you're husband and wife.
We are.
Yes.
We have been for a while.
Is there a doctor in the house?
We're a pair of docs.
Nice. So you've got duty split between Spring Arbor and Lumen Christi, and you are full-time at Lumen.
Right. My second year teaching theology at Lumen.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Kimberly, you're full-time at Spring Arbor, teaching English.
Yes.
Nice. And both of you have been at Spring Arbor for a long time.
20 years? Yeah.
Nice.
Been in Christian education for 30 years. We were at Taylor University before that for 9 years. And I've been a United Methodist minister for 33 years before being received into the Catholic Church in 2019.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's headline making.
Yeah, so quite a bit of experience with young people, and we come with a lot of concern about what's going on with families and social media. As you can imagine, we've seen a lot of changes with our students over the years.
Yeah.
So I grew up in the area, graduated from Western High School, went out to the Northwest to graduate from college, and then to the East Coast for graduate school, but I came back to the Midwest. So we've been teaching, like Robert said, for 30 years at the university, Christian Liberal Arts University setting. And I think what brings us here today is a concern for teachers, as teachers, for our students, what we've seen them go through, and we're also parents. So we raised a daughter. She was at the beginning of the cell phone era. She got her first cell phone, one of those kids. So we've been through that with her. She's married and just had a baby, and so now we're grandparents. So as teachers and parents and grandparents, we're concerned about what's happening with our kids.
Now, do you team teach, or do you?
We actually do. We teach a class at Spring Arbor University. We've taught C.S. Lewis and Friends for years together. So for 30 years we've actually team taught. Yeah.
And you've got a seminar.
Yes. So what you mean? What's coming up? So we're offering this to the public. It's 2 consecutive Sunday evenings in a row, and it's 5:30 to 7:30. It's Sunday, September 25th and October 2nd. And so the first Sunday, we're going to watch a movie, Childhood 2.0, and we'll send people home with some questions to ponder. And then the second Sunday, we'll come back and try to parse that some, try to have a good discussion, try to offer some solutions. We're going to provide childcare, and there'll be some food there. So we promise not to keep people longer than 2 hours. We want to respect people's time.
Okay. The topic is social media, forming families in the age of social media. Well, that sounds like it'd take more than 2 hours.
Yeah, well, we're really concerned. Mention what. Where we're coming from in terms of our main concern.
Yeah, where we're starting is children should hear who God says they are before social media tells them. So social media will tell us you are, as a person, the number of likes and shares you get on your Instagram and Snapchat posts.
Which already makes me feel bad, like that I didn't get enough shares last night, on my Facebook feed, right? So, and so it's this idea that God says you are created in His image. You're a son. You're a daughter of God, and that's something you don't have to earn. We want to give children this strong foundation, and try to see if we can talk to families about how to form a culture within the family that can be counterculture to social media culture, right? Because otherwise, kids are going to be swept up into that.
Well, the parents will say, get off social media, and the kids will say no. And it's, pretty much...
There's got to be some other option in there. If we just tell them no, that probably won't work. And we do have to realize too, right, that social media and the internet has brought us a wealth of good. And we learned that particularly, ironically, perhaps during COVID, when we were separated, and now we could do school via Zoom. We have friends and family on the West Coast that we were able to keep in touch with.
Sure.
Right. But all the problems, right? All the problems of social media.
So I think we haven't understood the severity of some of those problems. For instance, with cyberbullying, it's so much easier to write to a screen these messages that the worst of us can send. I hate you, you're ugly, go away, I wish you weren't here, than it is to look into someone's eyes and give those messages. Because when you look into someone's eyes and you're in their presence, you see the hurt. And the response to that gives us an opportunity to develop empathy, at least to go away and think about what just happened. Right. But when you're just writing to a screen, you're taking out the person, and it's just easier to get to be our worst selves that way.
Right, and there's been many documented cases of suicides by cyberbullying, people with low self-esteem as a result of what you just said, not getting enough shares and likes.
Right. Particularly with young girls in terms of image. But we see so we've seen this for years in the college classroom and on the campuses where the counseling needs are going up and up through the ceiling. And now, of course, we see it at the high school level too. So where there's depression. What's the
anxiety, suicide ideation, like you were saying. Suicide itself has become the second leading cause of death among 10 to 24-year-olds.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
We really are facing a crisis.
Yeah. So we want to offer some resources, some tools. I mean, part of that would be like, how are we modeling this ourselves? If I'm always on my phone and then I tell my son, put that away. Right. There's that, and then there's just tools. We're gonna this movie, Childhood 2.0, is similar to Social Dilemma. Some of you may have seen that. And these are some of the experts in the field, some of the creators, designers of these platforms like TikTok, Instagram, Google, and they've got a lot to say that's trying to warn us about what's going on now and trying to say, let's regulate this. Now, we can't get rid of the internet, right? But how to deal with it, that's the question.
Yeah, and those companies are fearful of government regulation, but really, where's this going to go?
Right.
Do you see that there has to be some regulation if these companies aren't going to self-discipline themselves?
I think that's what the Social Dilemma documentary was getting to by its conclusion, was the people who had been in the startup for Google, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook. Some of those employees at the top have separated themselves out to be a group so that they can come together and say, there needs to be regulation. So there's regulation being called for.
Yeah.
But,
so all those companies, there's whistleblowers who have said, hey, we really did. We've been bad.
Yeah.
Now, does the whole family need to be at the seminar for it to be?
Well, we said that there's babysitting just so people can come, and anybody is welcome. Anybody who's interested in children, please come.
And if you would like to go, do you need to make a reservation? Is there a cost?
Nope.
No. You just come, there will be food, and hopefully other families putting their heads together, discovering what the church has to offer them and how they can join together to form families that are
we've talked,
separating from
and we're
culture.
really pretty adept at helping our kids succeed in athletics and academics, and we want them to have strong social networks. But have we forgotten to care for their mental health and their souls, right? I mean, so here is this life right now, and it's short, and we seem to have forgotten about eternity.
Yeah. So if people can't make the seminar, with your experience and when it comes to social media, can you give maybe one free tidbit or hint about?
So interesting, last February, an article came out in The Atlantic. So this is Jonathan Haidt, who's a social psychologist, really prominent in writing on politics and a social critic. And he and others have begun to say, let's let children go back outside and play and learn to work out some of their problems. When I was growing up, and my guess is when you were growing up too, Bart, we were outside, and that's where, if we weren't outside, then we were made to do work inside. So we left, we tried to go have our own fun. And I think that's one thing, is we've got to give, we have to realize that it's safer outside than we think it is. And we need to send kids out to play.
Yeah, and we all, everyone of our generation, we have the same conversation. We all say, when we were kids, we were outside all day long. Our parents didn't know where we were. We didn't come home until someone was screaming our name at dinner time.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
that's right.
And that's true.
Yes.
That was life. That we all lived that.
We developed our own play. There weren't games out there. We made them up.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so it was imagination, creativity, problem solving.
All right, well, I think you're going to have a big audience, as I'm sure is
Great.
a concern in many families.
Yeah.
And all are welcome. Two different, the same session, 2 different times.
Yes. Well, we're going to watch the film, let people ponder that, come back and discuss it the second time. Come to both, come to either one.
Okay,
If you can only make one, it'll be great.
great. Great to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Thanks very much for having us.
Thank you for
You
taking
bet.
time.
With this Jackson Catholic Schools event, Forming Families in the Age of Social Media, Drs. Robert Moore-Jumonville and Kimberly Moore-Jumonville. Stay tuned. We've got